Hey folks, it's Ardwulf. Welcome back. This is some more Battle for Normandy with the results of the June 7th turns. Now this was because I don't want to do a video for every turn, although I was kind of tempted because some fairly interesting things happened in those turns. I will at most be doing a video once a day here, and maybe less than that, depends how things work out. But we have gotten through June 7th. It is the very start of the June 8th turn, on which I have done nothing yet, so let's poke around and see what we got. Over here on Utah Beach, the beachhead is totally secure, and units from the 4th and 4th Infantry Division and U.S. 7th Corps are starting to land. We have decided that we are going to push the 4th Infantry with what little armor support they have at the moment. There's more coming. Up the coast of the Cotentin Peninsula. They're going to try and outflank the 709th, which is kind of trying to defend up here. But once it became obvious to me that I was trying to outflank, I have decided the Germans might pull back and try to defend around Montaberg. Over here in the 82nd Airborne sector, the German 91st, I want to say Luftlande division, actually did some counterattacks here and retook Pont-l'Abbé, fighting in the Bocage country. It was not a good turn for the 82nd. There's no real overruns in this game, but basically that's what happened to their lone airborne artillery unit that got kind of stuck out and trapped in the open. They lost, I think, 3 or 4 steps here. They were forced out of Pont-l'Abbé. Although they didn't actually lose a step there. The Germans have the 30th Infantry Division coming up from the south, or at least elements of it. There's just not a ton there. And we really did, at this point in the game, June 6th, you can kind of hand wave at the supply rules. June 7th, you really have to start paying attention to them. So we got German 243rd here, launched some fairly strong counterattacks. They're going to actually probably look to isolate and try to eliminate these, looks like the 507th Regiment down here on this side of the Meteorit River. I don't know if they're going to be able to do that. The Allies are going to get to go first. They may pull back. It's sure looking like they're pulling back. They do also want to maintain control of this side of the river. So we'll see what happens there. The Allies do go first. Down here by Carentan, we have forced the 101st Airborne, has actually forced out the German defenders of Carentan, which were out of supply because you need to trace supply to, you can trace to just a generic supply source, but these guys up here are out of range of any general supply source, and their HQ, they're attached to the 91st, is up here, so they're obviously out of range of that too. So the strung out defenders of Carentan have been forced to retreat. I have basically, as the German player, have given up on these units. They're going to be sacrificed. I will probably move them back here to try and hold that position, since the U.S. will have to attack across this major river. But that was 4 victory points for the Allies. The Allies are currently at 9 VPs. We have finally, over here in the Omaha sector, started to roll up Omaha Beach. As you can see, we poured absolutely everything we could. The weather was not especially cooperative. Weather was heavy overcast today, which cut into our air superiority, or cut in to our ability to leverage air superiority. But despite that, and also actually cuts down on our naval firepower because destroyers and monitors cannot fire. And one of my big gun ships, actually one of the 6-factor ships floating around over here, is actually a monitor and not a battleship. So that cut down on our naval, but we did manage to get a pretty good result on the strong point over here. We reduced a couple of them with relatively lucky artillery rolls, just trying to suppress them for the purposes of mandatory attacks. I did drop an armed recon mission on this strong point, which was not successful. The other 2 actually were, and actually I'll show you where the first one was up here. This guy guarding the road, along with a gun emplacement over by Queenaville. Not sure if that's correct pronunciation, don't really care. So things are looking pretty grim over here. The Germans facing Omaha Beach are pretty much going to have to back up and try to defend minimally behind the Ore River here. Try and hold down to Trevier until something can turn up. You can see the Commonwealth has pretty much blown their beachhead out. As you can see, it gets worse as I go west. So the 352nd, and I want to say, where is the 352nd's HQ? Yep, that's what I thought. These guys are all going to be out of supply, so I'm going to mark them as such. This guy's unattacked. Well, he's a core asset. He can pull supply from anywhere, but he's going to be out of supply as well. So all these guys are basically cut off. Based on the supply rules, as I understand them, anyway. I'm not really going to be attacking with these guys. The out of supply effects are basically that your attack factors are halved and your movement factors are halved. So they're pretty much going to be pulling back and defending behind this river as best they can. Anyway, we got to get the Germans have to get somebody into Bayeux, or the American 1st Infantry is going to roll into it in sometime on June 8th, probably. Maybe 9th. So we do have some time, and we do have, if we look at the incoming reinforcements over here. It was a pretty bloody day on both sides. I actually haven't marked the step losses yet, but I count this doesn't count the airborne because I was keeping track of those in the vassal module. UK lost 3 infantry steps, 4 armor steps. US lost 4 infantry steps, 1 armor step. Germans lost 14 infantry steps and 13 armor steps. A lot of those armor steps were from like strong points and artillery and stuff, which to my understanding count as armor steps. As always, if anybody has corrections, feel free to comment, and hopefully we can correct as I go. I'm trying not to keep the videos too far ahead of where I am with the actual game. But as you can see, we got a pretty open shot here opposing Gold Beach, especially if we want to drive up this way, and we do. But more interesting is the fact that we have started a fine little envelopment with the British 3rd Infantry coming off of Sword and the Canadians coming off of Juno. We've managed to isolate this the series of strong points and guns over by Riva Bella. We do have some elements of the 7/16th trapped in there. We have some more elements of the 7/16th trapped in here as well. That those guys are not going to be in great shape. I actually don't know how that's going to work. I know they're not eliminated yet, but I'm actually going to have to look into that. The 346th, I had some guys from 346 and from whoever, where are they? Another German infantry division actually up here trying to reduce the 6th Airborne pocket. I decided they would be put to better use defending Caen, so I moved them down there. As you can see, 12th SS, which is a very powerful formation, has moved into Caen now, and the British do have some opportunity here to try and flank it, but we'll see if they can actually do that. If they can, then it's probably due to me not playing the Germans right here. Nevertheless, at this point, I think this is a pretty competitive game. I think there's actually a lot that the Germans can do over in the Cotentin, and frankly, I think the 6th Airborne, unlike the entire rest of D-Day, the 6th Airborne position throughout the day, although they took a significant number of losses, was actually really strong. They had both sides of the bridges over the river and the canal. They have managed to hang on to it despite some losses. I've actually got a battalion here from the 27th Armored Brigade, UK Armored Brigade, that actually did manage to cross the river. And at some point I decided, I had some guys down here trying to grind these guys down. I said, screw it, man, I'm just going to cut them off. And so I moved in the wide open gap down here. So all this stuff's cut off. I do have a recon unit up here. This guy is in supply, and his job is to basically sacrifice himself, blocking anybody else that tries to come down this road. That is very worthwhile. We are still going to try. There were some heavy German attacks on these 2 positions. The British Airborne did hold on to them. So beginning of June 7th, we're doing pretty well here as the Allies. This is it's opened up quite a bit. Things look fairly grim in a lot of places. Not everywhere, actually. I mean, the Cotentin didn't look too bad, but the Germans, I really feel like the German defenders of the peninsula have a lot they can do. They've got 3 pretty full divisions, and while it takes them some time to get them in position to do anything, there's a lot to work with here. On the other hand, Carentan is kind of hosed, and you are basically, you're going to either give it up, and it's by itself, the 2 hexes are 8 victory points. The nearest defenders are from the 91st Division, and they're either going to get cut off, and try to hang on to the town, or they're going to get cut off and eliminated. So I'm not sure there's much that can be done with Carentan unless you decide you're going to ship some of these guys in the 352nd over there, which is probably not an amazingly awesome idea, in my opinion. You need all you can up here facing Omaha. I mean, it's going to be the bloodiest Allied beach. That's relatively obvious, and if you know anything about the history of D-Day, that was in fact historically the case. But at the same time, there's a lot of forces. There's 2 full divisions. There's corps elements that are coming off on this beach, all on the first day, and there's a lot to fight off too. And there's a big expanse that the Allies can potentially punch holes in, even if they don't roll up one of the flanks. Now, from the way I've seen this play out, the right flank of Omaha is pretty hard. It's hard to turn that right flank. It's substantially easier to turn the left flank. And actually, that seems to me like that generally happens in here with the straight bluffs. And you got a couple of draws in here. And this is generally where I've seen, and maybe this is just the way I play it, the Allies work their way up, which they have done. There's a fair amount of stuff from the first. Actually, I think I got a guy from the first here. He's probably going to end up somewhere else fairly shortly. So most of the first, well, what do we got? What do we got coming on lined up on the beach right now? We got 3 more infantry battalions, plus an engineer. We've got some divisional artillery and recon. We've got some more engineers and other infantry battalions. So we've still got a fair amount of stuff from the 1st and the 29th. That stuff doesn't stop until for another several turns. I am not incidentally playing the optional rule where you can move off the beaches in the mech movement phase, because I think unless non-mech movement units can do that, I don't think it makes sense. Now I suspect that that they can, because after all the boats are motorized, but it's an optional rule, so I just decided I did it for like 1 stack and then decided I was going to roll it back and not bother with that optional rule. I actually am playing with a fair number of the optional rules, like the rules for commandos and engineers against strong points and stuff like that, because I think those things are needed. So I'm not playing with 0 options, and I think I might not have, actually put together a checklist of optional rules. So, and this will probably make its way to Board Game Geek at some point, so I can tell which ones I am using and which ones I am not. And you can of course print this out and check the little circles. So I'll try and get that up on BGG sometime in the next few days. Anyway, we've already run a little over, so thanks for watching, and I will probably try to do another one of these at the end of June 8th. We'll see. I will definitely do it at the end of June 9th, because that is the first victory check. And as of this moment, it's looking pretty good for the Allies. Now, even if they hit the sudden death victory condition, I'm probably going to say I feel like I'm going to keep playing. At least until the second victory check. But we'll see what happens. I mean, if it's a total blowout, if the Allies have completely blown this apart, then maybe I won't. Maybe I will call it a game. We'll see. Again, thanks for watching. By the way, if you would like to see more frequent updates as I play, and more updates for stuff I'm not specifically talking about, like screenshots from the action throughout the turns I'm covering, check out my Twitter feed. I'm on Twitter as Ardwulf. I always forget to mention that. I'm also on G+ and Facebook, but I'm a little less aggressive about posting this kind of stuff in those places. But generally, Twitter is pretty painless to post the screenshots to. So stay tuned. We'll do at least one more video on the Battle for Normandy and see where we are at that time. Thanks for watching again.